there is a piece of knowledge or information that I've kept mostly to myself, and I really feel time for me to document it for the love of being, for the love of the truth, and for also the love of the souls that are journeying on the Diamond approach and Diamond Logos stream. This knowledge is regarding how did the Diamond approach develop. This is the gospel according to Faisal, not according to Hamid and Karen, which I think they have pieces of, but this is my piece of how did it develop. It is not meant to be an attack on either one of them. It is not meant to take the credit or give credit. It's none of that. It is done sincerely, lovingly, from the depth of my heart and my soul, for the love of guidance, for the love of what guidance is, and how did this teaching land. And this view is, I feel, is very important for all the students that are on the path to know that this guidance is their guidance too. It is not bound by the Diamond approach or Diamond Logos. It's not the property of Hamid, Almas, or Faisal, or anybody else. It's a universal guidance, and that they can access it, and that I understand they have all kinds of issues about it, and many have contributed the teachings and the unfoldment of the Diamond approach to Almas or the Diamond Logos to me, and that is not accurate. That is absolutely not how it has arrived. So I will relate the gospel according to my perception of how it arrived. Almas and me were friends since childhood, since we were, I think, 10 years old or 8 years old, and we shared a lot of development and a lot of years together, including, elementary and middle school, high school, and university, and therapy, and you name it, variety of things that we shared, and sometimes we did separately, differently. And in 1978, I was living in Kuwait till then. Then I came back to America, and we joined forces, we joined the friendship. And from that kind of friendship and companionship, the teachings of the Diamond approach unfolded due to the contribution of the three of us. In the beginning, it was Almas and me. Then Karen joined. And even though she was there, but she was like the young kid in the neighborhood. And little by little, as she strengthened, she started adding and contributing her share of this unfoldment. My part of it started in 1976. I had the grace of being with my teacher, Tartan Tuku Rinpoche, who bestowed upon me the transmission, the connection to my Buddha nature, to the enlightened nature. And that was my first encounter to going beyond the essential domain, beyond the energetic domain, beyond the psychological domain, to basic nature, to the enlightened nature that became the basic source, the basic ground from which so much development started to unfold. When you are in being, when you are in source, whatever you wish, whatever also the being wishes, comes through so easily, so magically, so delightfully. So in 76, I had that experience. In 77, it got reinforced and re-established again with my teacher, who grounded me even further in it by direct transmission. Being in his presence did all the magic and the trick. It wasn't any teaching. It was, like Dzogchen, direct transmission that became the greatest gift and greatest treasures I have received, and became also empowerment from him that I can also transmit it. When the right time happens, when the right situation happens, this great being will utilize me to transmit its nature to the person who is ready to receive it. During that time, 76, 77, 78, I was living in Kuwait. I had groups, women group, men group, and I was teaching what I usually, what I learned, which is therapy, bioenergetic, gestalt analysis, meditations, you name it. And my spirituality was mostly around light, receiving light and transmission of light. And that was really wonderful for my student. It boosted their morale and their enthusiasm about themselves and the discovery. And I would come and visit America, see Almas, and we talk every now and then. The most important thing is that I wasn't focused on psychologizing so much, nor on the manifestation of being. I was trying to relax and be present in presence itself. I was at that time what I call an absolutist. I believe that being is the alpha and the omega. It is everything, and all the things that come from it are sheer blessings, are just different, just manifestation of being. And I will be using now some of the terminology or states of essence that I think belong only mostly to the student in the Diamond Approach, Diamond Logos work, because we use these terminologies like diamond or gold or things like that. So I hope those students understand what I'm saying in its suchness and what am I really talking about. So the qualities began to circulate in my system. Love, joy, groundedness, all of those qualities. And I used to call them blessings. I didn't examine their nature or the issues associated with them. I just thought that I surrender myself to being, and being will transmit to the students or to friends or to families I used to visit in Kuwait or other places as a form of barakah. Barakah means blessings. I used to do it like that, and so on one hand, the circulation of essence was happening so easily, but I didn't pay enough attention to it. I thought this is barakah, and it's not good to count. I have this quality and have that quality and all of this. I wasn't applying my scientific mind. I was applying my poetical, inspirational, healing aspect. I was looking at essence from healing aspect. In 1977, after 1 year of my awakening, I remember receiving a verse from the Quran that I talked about it in some of the videos I have on YouTube, the verse of the light in the Quran. And it says, I will recite it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah nur as-samawati wal-ard. مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح. المصباح في زجاجة. الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء لو لم تمسسه نار نور على نور. And it means, in the name of the divine Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Allah is like the illuminator or the light of heavens and earth. The likeness of this light is like a lamp, like a bulb of light surrounded by a ball of glass. The ball of glass is like a pearly planet, and the ball of light is within a jeweled structure, chandelier-like or jeweled-like, stupa-like structure. And the light is lit up by an olive, the oil of an olive tree, blessed olive tree, and the whole system generate light upon light. And that in 1977 became like my spine, became the guiding principles, in the unfoldment, in the journey. Also in 77 or 76, in meditation, I was not happy by going to the absolute and dissolving in the absolute and letting go of it all. I knew that my body has so much childhood programming and that I needed to undo this childhood programming. I was a bioenergetics Reiki therapy, therapist oriented toward that, and I felt I needed to download the spiritual dimension in my body to deal with the blockages and the armoring in it, instead of just dissolving in it and enjoying the liberation and the bliss. So each time I meditate and I connect to the being and I dissolve in it slowly, my head, my body, my psyche, my whatever, all, when I feel it has really landed and dissolved me for that time, then I enjoy the openness. It has to land all the way to my toes, to my hands and feet. And I remember after 6 months or 7 months of intensive meditation, intensive practice, because my teacher told me to even stop working. So I stopped working for 6 months. And I was spending 8 to 10 hours a day of meditation and practice and invocation and allowing the absolute to land and dissolve my structure and integrate it more and more. One day in that dissolution, I felt like my normal self-image, body image, structuring were gone temporarily. Of course, they come back again, they regroup again. The rebound effect happens. But I felt at that time I was just pure awareness, and this time without any baggage, just pure awareness. Then from this awareness, I looked, I said, who is sitting and meditating? And I looked and I saw what I knew as Faisal, sitting there meditating, but he wasn't the Faisal I knew. He was an ornamented entity, an entity like me, like this Faisal, sitting in a lotus meditation. I was meditating in that posture. And the pillow even I was sitting in became like a lotus. And in that lotus, there was an entity. And this entity, this person, that was Faisal, but not the body of Faisal that I know, nor the mind and psyche of Faisal I know. But it's still me, made of diamond and crowns and jewels. It was so beautiful, so breathtaking to see this entity. And this entity, you see so much of it, images of it in the Tibetan tankas. You see Avalokiteshvara, you see Guru Rinpoche, you see with a crown and necklaces and ornaments and robes of glory. And that's exactly what I saw. And it wasn't like an image. It was as if it was an inner seeing. And because I was a poet in my life, my inner imagination that got developed into inner seeing was very strong, was getting really stronger. And I really wanted to see the suchness of things and not the image of things, So you could see the symbolic, you could see like an image of an angel, but that image of an angel is only an image. What is the suchness of the angel? Is it a diamond? Is it a structure? So at that moment, I recognized that who I am, who dwells in this body, is an entity made of jewels and diamonds. And at that time, I was looking for a name, what to call it, and I was reading in the Encyclopedia of Spirituality. It was one name that really fascinated me was Diamond Body, and that the Taoists in China and in the East, part of their practice is to cultivate that we have a certain bundle of energy, the chi energy that we're born with, and if we do intensive practices and meditation and all of that, we can compress this chi energy and transform it into a body of consciousness and bliss. And this body of consciousness and bliss, they call it the diamond body, the diamond body. And the diamond body is like the human body, but made of elements that don't die when we die. The physical body, some of the psychological body and all of that, dissolve. They disintegrate to the earth or into air or into ether or energies. But the diamond body becomes the immortal body. And one of their quests that not all humanity cultivate the immortal body. Most of humanity, and I think this belief is also Don Juan was teaching Carlos Castaneda that their shamans believe in it, that human beings are a bundle of energy, and when they die, this energy gets dissolved again in the absolute. And the Taoists were encouraging people not to waste this bundle of energy that they have, this chi energy, and to cultivate it and compress it and make it an entity of consciousness so they can endure death and beyond and attain the immortal body. So I like that name. I called it the diamond body. And in 1978, I came, to California and joined Hamid, and we were exploring these things. And I remember at that time, he was not in essence yet. He was teetering on essence. He was touching on essence. And he was definitely not in the awakened state yet. He didn't recognize the absolute. He knew about it. He might have had glimpses about it or insights about it, but he didn't reach it. He didn't know it then, and that he was also very curious and always asked about, what do you know about essence? What do you know about essence? And even though essence was flowing through my fingers, I really didn't know what. I didn't look at it that way. That was like a new questioning for me, new orientation. And thank God for his curiosity. Thank God for all the things he also taught me and shared with me and all of those things. And whatever personal issues I have with them, this is set on the side. This is for him and me and our karma to resolve and heal and recover from. But this is for the love of the teaching, for the love where the guidance has come from. So he was always questioning, do you know about essence? What is essence? And so I wasn't curious. I said, why are you looking for essence? Why don't we just leave all of that? Essence and relative and all of that and just be in the enlightened field. But he was really keen about it. And thank God he was keen about it, because his questioning deepened, even though it frustrated me in the beginning, because it was all like, I call it spiritual materialism, greed, why have that? But then later I realized, no, there was something about the healing of things, that we really need to know and recognize, which is including the healing of the human psyche. I remember at that time, I was feeling like a rooster, spiritual rooster. I was full of love, full of light, full of energy, full of creativity. I was attaining what I call the ornamented vehicle of enlightenment. Not only the ornamented jewel of enlightenment, which is the self, the diamond entity, as I call it, but also the ornamented vehicle of enlightenment, the heart of enlightenment. And this vehicle, when you have it, you can generate from the field, from the absolute, infinite forms of light and energy. And at that time, I've always wanted Hamid to recover from polio. He has one leg crippled in polio. And I wanted him to walk. I really genuinely in my heart wanted him to walk. So every day I will do channeling of whatever comes from being to that leg. And through this process of healing, and we used to do it like sometimes, most of the time in fact, when we used to meet in the morning for a breakfast, in a cafe, drinking so many cups of coffee, eating bagels and cream cheese. I mean, really, we're not kosher food, not healthy food, But we were young and we were excited at that time, and we didn't pay attention much about diet. Or also sometimes when I go visit him at home, or he comes visit me at home, and I will do this continual transmission, hoping that by downloading these energies to his leg, that his leg will build up the nerves, the fascias, the muscles, the bones to start walking. And what happened is that as this download used to come, I would share it with him, you know. And because I was a seer, I could see the quality that was coming. You know, I would say, wow, I see gold coming and it seems to be going to the nerve. Or I see pearly substance coming and it's going to the muscle. And I see brilliance or diamond going to the bones. And as I described the download of these things, you know, to him, he was a sensor. He could sense. He said, oh, even I can taste gold, or I can taste silver, or I can taste this and that. And he was not a seer then. He couldn't see. Through my power of seeing and through great help from Karen, ability, because she was a seer. And in the beginning, she was a seer of auric field and all of those things, because her ability to see essence was new. She didn't have that awakening yet. Her inner seeing deepened and deepened till she was also able to see the essential states and help reveal what they are and share that with us. So through these transmissions of the essential states to help him heal, we began another kind of inquiry. Like while I was downloading this quality, I felt like, oh yes, this pomegranate rich wine quality is flowing from the liver and going down to the muscles and strengthening them. Then also comes the inner reading that I would say, well, also I see the image of mother. Something about mother and the conflict about mother. And he would pick up this line and look at what happened with mother and the whole developmental stage and object relation. And he brought so much of that knowledge. I'm really grateful for that contribution. Yet I also knew that it is a wonderful contribution, but extremely limited. It does not describe the actual evolution of the human soul and development. It has, generally it has validity, great validity, you know, ego psychology, developmental psychology, Jungian, Freudian, all of those are a great contribution of our time to the human knowledge and understanding of what we are. But there was much more dimensionality to who we are than those limitations. So I would take them in consideration, integrate as much as I can, learn as much as I can, which I am grateful for, Hamid, for that contribution. But I remained as the pillar of downloading these essential states and seeing what they are and listening to the diamond body, reading and revealing what these qualities are in their nature, their location in the body, and the psychological issues that they arise. Hamid contributed to that knowledge about the psychological issue immensely. After a year or two, or I think maybe more, 81 or 82, he began to cultivate his diamond body more and more. He began to recognize that entity. And this diamond body, this diamond entity, this diamond consciousness, we all have. Every human being has a diamond consciousness. Some are more developed than others, some are less developed, some developed in one field and not developed in another, some their diamond body is more in their head, so they have information and knowledge, some they have their diamond body in their heart, so they have art and music and celebration and manifestation, some have their diamond body in their belly, so they have a sense of actualization, empowerment, actual mobilization of energy and earth changes. So the diamond body can move, and according to the Enneagram, like 5, 6, 7, their diamond body is mostly in the head, 2, 3, 4 is in the heart, 1, 8, 9 is in the belly, but the diamond body move. And during all the years of the collaboration between Hamid and me, it was always two things, those two streams going on with our unfoldment. One is the verse of light that I mentioned. What is the spot of light? We didn't know there was a spot of light. That was the point of light that came later on. We didn't know about the chandelier or the jeweled vehicle. We didn't know about the ball of glass, the pearly planet. We didn't know about the oil. We didn't know about so many things. As it unfolded, we used to fall into becoming dogmatic, saying, oh, this is it. White essence is it. White light is it. Then green light comes, say, oh, that's not it. This is maybe it. You see it. The Beatles fell into it, in the Yellow Submarine. Which is higher, the blue light, green light? So we were unfolding, but it was like the elephant in the dark. We're seeing one piece here, one piece there, one piece, all of those things. The essential domain was so much my department. And for me, the teaching unfolded from grace to knowledge. We received first the quality. I would receive the quality. I would recognize it in its nature, a diamond or a pearl or a gold, and transmit it as a form of healing or empowerment or blessings. And as the quality lands, with the guidance comes the revelation of what this quality is in its nature, what does it do in the body, location, and the issues associated with it. Like if the quality opens up in the liver, the diamond body comes and goes in the liver and reveal not only the quality, but also the object relation related to mother, separation, individuation, Oedipal stage, all of those things. It reveals that you can just simply read it. As if the information, as the quality opens up the liver, for example, the quality begin to float in the air. And if you have this diamond entity, this diamond consciousness, you can read it. You can inquire into it. So the process for me happened by guidance bringing the quality, grace descending the quality, and then our keenness and our observation and our following of the guidance wove into it the knowledge and the inquiry about it. We would question and we would inquire. It's not the way it is taught now. Now we start with inquiry in order to reach the whole, the missing quality, and the birth of the quality, and we think that inquiry has done it. For me, the big conflict that I had with Hamid is that he began to think, or at least for me, that he thinks that we by inquiry reach it. And that by being the inquirer and the looking at that, which is very useful, very much needed, but it also could lead to grandiosity. It also could lead to the ego thinking it is the one who is the knower. So for me, for him, his ego started to play the role of the diamond body, the diamond consciousness. This diamond body has many names. It's also called the angel of revelation. It's also called the angel Gabriel. It's also called Elijah, Khidr in the Sufis, Avalokiteshvara in the Tibetan. So this entity is universal, and it is the bringer of revelation. It's not our work that's do it. Our work is needed, and sometimes our work connects us to it, but it can't come without our work. It's a grace. It's the descent of grace. It's the great being or our souls want to bring our blessings and manifest it on earth. So I felt by time and due to personal conflict with Hamid that the teaching started deviating from its course. It became as by developing the art of inquiry and the skill of inquiry and learning the information that we can reach being, which it can help. It can't happen that way, and it's necessary to develop it. But more importantly, that we need to connect to the guidance. We need to listen to our inner guidance, to open the doors of our consciousness and our heart and soul to that guidance, and to cultivate other capacities, not just the inquiry and the knowledge and the information. And I felt at that time, Alma's hang-up was he wanted to be the embodiment of this entity because it's the teacher of the age. Whoever embodied the diamond guy, the diamond body is the teacher of the age. And whoever embodied it, supposedly to be the teacher of the age. And being a 5 on the Enneagram, that was his ultimate idealization, to be the teacher of the age. So he will be acknowledged as the all-knower, all of those things. For me, all-knowing was not an important thing. In fact, a funny story is that when we were teenagers, he being a 5 on the Enneagram and me being a 4 on the Enneagram, we had two different idealizations. He idealized Sherlock Holmes. Who's supposed to be Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock Holmes is a symbol of this detective who looks at the riddles and find resolution for them and sort them out and discover the bad guy and the good guy and sort it all out, which is the function of the diamond consciousness. This is the diamond body. It functions as the one who sorts out the confusion of the mind and the psychology and the body and all of those things, and also the knower of the hidden realm and what's behind the scenes, and bring it to us. So it was perfect for him to idealize Sherlock Holmes. For me, I idealized Tarzan. Being a 4, I idealized the spirit, the point of light. So for me, Tarzan symbolized freedom, this free spirit that flies between trees and saves the defeated or broken animals and befriends the glorious ones and ultimately end up with finding Jane and living, I don't know how, probably happily ever after. But I idealize that spirit, which is the freedom of the point of light to journey in any domain. I wasn't interested in so much the knowledge about it, So I remember, like, if we discover a quality, if we are sitting in a cafe and we discover a quality, let's say gold, and I feel warmth and sweetness and all of those things, Hamid will spend the day contemplating, on gold. What is gold? Where does it go? All of those things. For me, I'll be filled up with gold and go to a cafe to fall in love with this woman or that woman. So my nature, my fixation, my inspiration, my point, all of that was to live the unfoldment, while his was to contemplate the unfoldment. Each is beautiful. Karen was the embodiment of the unfoldment. So for me, the feeling, the heart, for him is the mind. Karen being an 8 was the embodiment. So our contribution, our different perception of the manifestation of each quality didn't lead to conflict. Instead, it led to collaboration and to addition. So if we see gold, Karen will say, it feels this way. And Hamid will say, it is. I see it that way. And I see it that way. So even though they may be conflicting, but we begin to think that, no, maybe gold has more aspect than just what one person views it. And that was a great working alliance. We were friends, we were caring, we were loving for each other, and really genuinely in service of the well-being of each other. And I'm grateful for both of them. But I felt that the limitation began to cripple the unfoldment. It started going only Hamid's way. He wanted to direct it his way. And I felt that at that time, around 86, not only the working alliance started to break down with Hamid, and also the friendship got jeopardized by personal issues. Also, I realized that at that time, I was, in 82, 83, I was able, because of the power I have, to transmit the absolute to Hamid. I tried to awaken him 3 times. Twice failed. One, maybe I can remind him if he ever listened to this, was when we were in Camp Gualala. I remember looking at the balcony, we were standing, and he was looking at the scenery and the view of the trees, and I felt that he was very close to awakening to the presence of pure nature, mind. So I kept pointing to the space between the trees, not the trees, but the space between them as an entry into the absolute spaciousness. But that scared him and he couldn't go. Second time I remember in Colorado, standing by our old car, the green Dodge, and this also his mind was beginning to open, and he wouldn't go with it because deep anxiety, deep fear of losing his mind, stood in the way. Because you have to lose mind. To reach it, you have to lose this conceptual mind to reach true nature of mind. I had to lose myself in order to reach basic self. The third time I remember we were in the kitchen in Colorado and he was in his diamond body and trying to use his diamond body and intellect to sort out everything and figure out everything. And I knew that he had to stop this conceptualizing. He had to let go of knowing through knowledge and know directly. So I used my personal will. I grabbed his diamond body, grabbed his consciousness, and spun it energetically so hard he lost control. And when he lost control, he had a sense of the infinite and the eternal and spaciousness. He had his first awakening. Then that got established, and then he fell in love, which is the case with everybody, with the absolute, with Buddha nature, with enlightened nature. It's so enticing, it's so enlightening, it's it's enlightenment itself. How could you not fall in with your own nature? And then he fell into, again, the same dogmatic attitude that this is it and this is everything else and this is God and all of those things. And I felt at that time I spent already 10 years in the enlightened field, and there was something in me unanswered. And I didn't know whether it was my ego still or whether there was something else waiting. And I felt like I couldn't continue with Hamid because he set the process in a very rigid and limited way for me. That this is it, how it is, and you'd better follow it, or you're not with us and you are not doing the diamond approach. And to me, the diamond approach is not what he defines. The diamond approach means the diamond entity approaching the realization, taking us to realizing the enlightened nature, not how he thinks it or how I think it. I could have gone to enlightenment through visions, which was what I did in the beginning, through poetry and visions and light and inner seeing. It wasn't through any analysis. It wasn't through any inquiry. It was through direct perception. For him, it was always through the analysis. But that's his way, and this is my way, and Karen was through the embodiment. So we had our differences, but because of our conflict on the personal level, it spilled over the working alliance, and I had to leave the school. And I had to continue this quest in me that even enlightenment hasn't done it for me. There is still something in me. Either I am too much in my ego, too messed up, too caught, hopeless, or there is something that the way we are going, we will not find the answer to. And 86, I completely left the school, disengaged from Hamid, didn't want to be trapped in that kind of, like quicksand, spinning, like a gerbil, spinning my wheels, my mind in the absolute and figuring one hole after another, one constellation after another. That was not enough for me. That was not, didn't work. It could work for a certain level, but there was need for a quantum leap. I didn't know what there was need for. I thought maybe I'm just hopeless. So in 86 I left, and from 86 till 87, a whole year, I dropped all of this, all of the processes and all of the inquiry and all of the knowledge I have and the absolute and enlightenment and essential domain, and really stayed in an abyss. I call it the abyss. And in that abyss, I had to let go of my fear of regressing and falling into ego and samsaric activity and personality activity, nor to be tempted by nirvana, absolute essential state, that the temptation and the fear has to go. and just to be in that dark night of the soul or no soul. And in that, there happened a new chapter unfolded. Something way different from inquiry and analysis and seeking. It has to do with grace. And that's a whole another chapter that maybe someday I will talk about. And the unfoldment of grace and connecting with the divine grace and Lord divine. And from that Lord divine and from that love and divine grace, there happened a huge opening, much grander than I ever seen, more than the diamond approach could contain. And I couldn't describe it or share it with Hamid because he was stuck and, to me, he was stuck in quicksand. And for years, he would emphasize only the absolute and I am nobody and there is nobody. And from the realization I had then in 87, we are somebody. We are not just the absolute, we are entities. And these entities are the creators. And we are responsible for our evolution and development. And it shifted the whole paradigm. And he continued his paradigm for years. And I knew he was like really gonna come out of it sooner or later, or if he dies without realizing it, he has to come back and do the work, because he was denying divine grace and denying divine Lord divine, an entity that is our Lord, the entity, the Lord of our entities, And that great being is so magnificent, so loving, that you cannot but call it God. There's no way you be in presence of that entity without calling it God. You recognize you are God, and everybody is God and Goddess, and there is also Lord Divine, God of gods, a leader, a higher, who somebody walk the walk ahead of us. And in connection with that Lord, there is the knowledge about what is the absolute, what is the essential domain, what is this reality, what's the purpose of it. So there is a knowledge about salvation and walking the walk, while the absolute and the essential state is walking the walk of liberation, healing, transforming, maturing, while this one is much more than that. Really, this is about the maturation of the soul that is so important for all of us to acknowledge and to learn. Only now, only recently, I hear how he's changing that. He's letting go of his attachment to the absolute, which is mind. That's just mind, basic nature of mind, Buddha nature. And he was letting go of his own paradigms of thinking this is it, after he built like a whole, I don't know, hundreds of books that have beautiful details and knowledges, but excessive. Really, to me, is excessive. Because it was him putting himself on the throne of that great being. He was playing that, and now maybe I hope he's getting the humility of that. He's got a long way to learn. He's got a long way to mature and develop. I wish him well. I'm grateful for all I received from him. I'm grateful for his contribution to the human development. But I want to tell all the students that the guide, the diamond body, is the teacher, is the one connected to the absolute and bring revelation from there. And that there's a whole entourage of high beings and entities that help us as a human being to evolve, to mature. And they are also in charge of this planet and the universe and what's it about. And it's not like we are the one who just doing it. There is also divine intervention. So this is a contribution. This is for me my bowing to the diamond consciousness that brought this. I was lost, now I am found. This is the amazing grace that came. It is not Hamid's contribution, it's not my contribution, it's not my current contribution. These are beautiful contributions. Thank God I did what I did, and Karen did what she did, and Marie, and all of our students, and Hamid did what we did. It's really wonderful. But let's connect to the guide, to the universal guide. And it's not going to come only in the diamond approach or psychological or in the essential states. This great guidance comes to doctors in their field, comes to musicians in their field of music, come to naturopath, come to food. Now there is like as if the diamond dome around our plane is showering us through the grace of this diamond entity, is showering the planet with diamonds. And many are connecting to their specialties, their streams of those diamonds, and translating those diamonds into practical knowledge in our field, whether ranging from spirituality, psychology, to medicine, to computers, to everything. There is a huge revolution, huge awakening taking place, orchestrated by the diamond guidance, by this higher entity that we are in its image. So for me, it was like Hamid claiming directly or indirectly to be that, and claiming that this teaching is his teaching, is a sabotage of this entity, this consciousness. Because ultimately it makes every student in the work and in the journey feels deficient. How are they going to get their diamond body? How are they going to get their knowledge? Not everybody going to get this knowledge. Use the diamond approach, diamond logos, for your healing, but ultimately to connect to your guidance, and maybe your blessings will come in a body work, in music, in art, in healing, in politics. We need this diamond guidance in every field, and to go in this stingy way and control it and make it its mind. That was the thing that I really want to reveal, that it is not so. Hamid contributed only because of his attachment to the diamond body in a certain domain, mind. I contributed because of my attachment to diamond body and heart. Karen in embodiment. And we all learned from each other. We empowered each other. But there are so many beautiful beings around. I'm learning every day from this one and this one and that one. And the one that's enabled me to learn is this diamond consciousness. It enables me to bow my head with reference to this person and that person. And in fact, every human being is a treasure, is a teaching of God knows how many reincarnations their souls have come, and their lifetime has gathered knowledges. And the one that can bring me this perception, this knowledge, is the diamond body, the diamond consciousness. Each one of you have your own diamond consciousness. Seek the guide, and the guide will connect you to source. And from source you can resource your infinite potentiality, creativity, and help your soul manifest what it came to do. If you don't understand the diamond approach, you don't need to understand some that's useful, some parts of it that's useful, or part of the diamond logos, some part of it that's useful to you. But maybe something else is waiting for you that your soul loves to understand and want to bring it to this kingdom we live in. We live in a kingdom, it has its king, and we are kings and queens in it. So I hope this takes it from personal conflict to of how this diamond approach came from direct experience and us gathering the knowledges. In fact, the diamond body sometimes will lead us to the right teachings. We find the right book or the right teacher or the right music in order to facilitate the teachings needed. So please seek the guide. It doesn't dwell within the boundaries of Radwan or Diamond Logos or anywhere. It exists within you, your mind, heart, psyche. Find that, use the work to help you access that and benefit from the work. The work is beautiful, it's really very amazing, very helpful, but it is not the specialty of Almas or Karen or Faisal or anybody. We are only instruments in the hand of this maestro. Be well, take care, may the guide be with you. Bye bye.